Hello and welcome. This is Rooflemonger, and my friends, this is the ultimate starter guide for Gato in Fatal Fury: City of the Wolves. And in this video, we're gonna just be going over everything that makes this character. He's a classical kind of rushdown pressure character, and he's evolved a few new tricks in the more modern appearance of the character, and we're gonna be going over everything, right? So from more beginner concepts to more advanced theory, and it's going to be a big video. So there's timestamps for everything. Skip forward to whatever makes sense for you. And of course, if you use the timestamps, hey, leave a like. It does sincerely help out the video quite a bit. So first off, before anything else, before we go into like all the just minutia of the character, let's talk about why Gato. Let's go over the pros and cons of the character. So the pros and cons of Gato. Pro number one, Gato means cat. There you go. If you didn't know, now you know. There, we're getting multicultural here, right? So Gato means cat. But yeah, so why Gato? He's very distinct. One of the big things about him is basically his style of movement and offense. Like we'll go over when we're covering the special moves, but Fang is something else. It's not really something you'll see in other characters, as it's both a command jump and also a hit in and of itself. And he's got a lot of good, interesting traits, right? Like he has very appreciable meterless damage. So say if you happen to be in overheat because you're burned out, like that's not big of a deal as it would be for some other characters, because you can still hit hard even without spending resources. And if you do want to spend resources, well, if you're looking for someone who can just very easily dump the meter, like he is that guy. It is trivial for him just to go into RevXL cancels and RevXL and just over and over and over and over and over, right? I guess a weakness in that though is some of his combo routing is not obvious, because you would think just do more moves always equal more damage, always equal more better, right? A lot of his combo structure, if you're not aware of what's up, you can spend more meter and get like less results. Due to the nature of how combo scaling works, sometimes he'll front load not as valuable hits and thus get less overall damage in a combo. And I'll talk more about it in the combo section for like the pitfalls and traps you need to watch out for. But yeah, sometimes overly long combos can actually work against them in that you'll lose potential damage if you don't know the routing, which is fine. That's a knowledge check, and hopefully I'll give you some of that knowledge. He is a character just like Hotaru. He's the other character that has the air turn mechanic. So that means he doesn't have to rely on like stack cross-ups, as every air attack is a cross-up for him, including stuff like jump heavy punch and jump heavy kick, because he can turn around in the air and just attack you with it. So that's a nice little trait. When it comes to normals, he's proficient. I guess you could say it's a weakness that there's nothing overwhelming, but that's perfectly fine. Stand light kick is a very solid poke, and I'll also would say super cancelable poke as well. That's nice. Stand heavy punch is just a solid button overall. But when it does come to like contesting from further away, he does struggle a bit. Like he does have, I guess, what you would call a projectile, but it's very, very non-standard. It doesn't work the normal way, and it can cause issues in and of itself. And from further out, he has no presence at all, right? He has to work in the confines of his unique command jump for ranged presence, which can both be good and bad, depending. Has lots of easy advantage frames that just work. Like he does not have to struggle much for pressure, so that's really good, because pressure is the name of the game. Also add to that he's got one of the best overheads in the game as well, which is a godsend when it just comes to pressure and opening people up. The one thing I guess specifically to note though, a distinct weakness compared to some characters is when it comes to rev blows, like any rev blow is definitely workable, right? But his do not stand out in any appreciable way. Like some might help with like combo structure stuff just to get more accurate knockdowns. But there's nothing in the way of like this will win the game in and of itself like some characters have. But overall, he's very good just pressuring people, opening people up. And that's about the reason you would pick him, because he's a solid rush down character with some very interesting traits, not the least which is the all new back turn stance, which gives him a bunch of fun toys. So that said, now let's go into his special moves in depth and let's cover what makes everything work. So now on to special moves. We're going to start here with Quaking Fang, horizontal forward punch, And this is one of his most iconic moves. And frankly, most of the time, it's just pure just combo fodder, right? Like, you get the hit confirm, you go for it. And that's the other part right there. It has a follow-up. So you get the initial hit, and if you hold forward and punch again, then you'll do a follow-up, which is always a knockdown. And that's very nice. Now, the thing about that, just to note, is it's very good with the counter hits on both ends. So if your initial hits get blocked, you can say stagger out a heavy version, and notice here on counter hit has a kind of spin over effect, right? So if this hits, you can go for another heavy punch and get a guaranteed follow-up. And both of them do have a counter hit follow-up. The second hit is a launcher. Now, if you get the first hit, the second hit won't launch. It only is if the second hit connects by itself. Why is that? Because the second hit is very staggerable. So by itself, these versions are not the safest on block. Usually at the ranges you would use it at, someone should be able to reach you with a jab and get like a very small punish, right? But that's when you can do this and you can stagger that follow-up, which is admittedly, as you can see by the numbers, more unsafe on block. Sure. But if you do this and then you think they're going to take their turn right away, that's when you just stagger that out. And if you catch them hitting a button, you get that launcher. So just a quick example using the light version, right? You can see Hotaru jabs me back. That says punish. But if I'm delaying the follow-up, oh, I hit you and then you went for the ride. And say you do get it. Awesome, right? Great, even. And we're going to the cleaners, right? We're getting in pretty appreciable damage just before any supers or anything particularly fancy. So it's really good stagger. And now there's another layer on top of what was classically there. So if you hold the button after the follow-up, you now go into back turn stance. So basically when you do it, like you can just be in stance and get all the benefits of that. Depending on where you hit on block, it can change the frame data slightly, entering stance instead, giving you a chance to counter, which we'll talk about. It's good for like edge case stuff, right? And just setups. But yeah, so basically this is a super go-to combo move. And when it comes to just meterless combos especially, this is your golden go-to move for sure. So just solid move all around. Now moving on to Lightning Fang. This is your uppercut style move and he kicks you a bunch. Not too much to say that's not fairly standard within the context of the game. So the light kick version is full invincible. The heavy kick version is breakable, meaning you can get juggles off of it. The heavy kick version, while also not invincible all around, still has anti-air invulnerability, so it's still good against jump-ins. And the enhanced version does more damage, gives the hard knockdown, also breakable as well. Just a good tool, and it's amazing for anyone who has anything like this. Now, Wild Fang, another signature of Gato. So Wild Fang is quarter circle back kick, and he'll do the stomp, and he'll do a jump afterwards. And the stomp that you see here does hit. It is an actual move in and of itself. And from this, you get 4 options, one for each button, and they all do different things. So one of them, just light punch, is a quasi projectile. I won't call this a true projectile because it just hits the ground and explodes. It doesn't do anything other than that. There's no travel time. There's nothing to interact with. If you're on the ground, when this connects, you get hit. That simple, end of story. However, since there is no travel time, that does mean if the opponent were to say meet you in the air, like you will get hit because you got nothing to actually hit them with because it doesn't travel. This is not Akuma's air fireball per se. It's very interesting in a lot of ways and has uses that Akuma's doesn't because once again, there's no travel time. You just hit the button and it happens immediately. It just appears on the ground on the spot. It doesn't have to get to where it's going. So it's a very non-standard by 2D fighting game rules way to control the screen. Now, what's a bit more standard though is the heavy punch option, and that's a more traditional dive kick. So a thing to note about this, the dive kick here, is it's basically if people are planning to try to meet you in the air when you're doing the projectile, you can slam them out of the air with this instead. And the usual fighting game convention of the lower you do it to the ground or more to the enemy's knees or shins, the more advantages on block. However, it's basically impossible to make this plus on block unless you happen to be doing the enhanced version. The enhanced version, the frame data is entirely different compared to like the more regular version. And the more regular version is always going to be more negative So the enhanced version is more reasonable to get like a plus on block version of the move, depending on your angle. The regular versions, you're more aiming just to not get punished depending on your spacing. So you want it as low to the ground to the enemy's ankles as possible. And to note, despite being an aerial attack, it is not an overhead. You can crouch block this. Now, light kick after we do this here. This one's interesting. So by itself, the regular version, honestly, there's nothing much to talk about. It's combo fodder. Basically nothing else. However, the enhanced version is amazing for combos. Like, it helps start combos versus just being, you know, as we mentioned here, like fodder. Like, there's so many routings you can go with that. Like, it's an all-time classic, basically. It's really, really good. And the heavy kick option is an empty jump into a low. So this one's a bit different, and depending on when it connects, changes the frame data, because it's a long slide. If you connect immediately, even on hit, you're negative. So you're aiming to kind of have this connect from further out. The further out you connect this, the better the frame data gets. You can go from like -4 to +4, as you can see here, right? And so basically that helps just enforce the options, is you can do this and not hit any follow-up, right? You can do this. You're worried about the projectile, you're worried about dive kick, you're worried about maybe that low, whatever. And then you could just say, nah, and like land and throw them or something like that. Or, you know, land and go for like lights. Like, it's part of the will he, won't he kind of guessing game. The final thing to mention here specifically, that's really good, and we'll talk a little more about it later. The move is breakable if it's enhanced or on regular hit for the heavy. And this is just -2, and the enhanced version is plus on block. And next up, we have an all-new stance. That is the Lull stance. So this is part of his character growth in that while he's not technically blind, he just now closes his eyes and refuses to see. So therefore, he doesn't really need to look at you to fight you anymore, right? So this is done by quarter circle back and punch. And from here, you get, just like the previous move, you get 4 options. Light punch, well, it just cancels the stance. Light kick is a very powerful counter. This counter gets mids. This counter gets lows. And this counter gets overheads. And as far as I can tell, this is a frame 1 counter. We don't have a lot of particulars of the frame data just yet, but as far as I can tell, this goes live the second you press the button. So it catches everything and is very powerful. Now, of course, granted, you're more limited in this stance as you can't block while you're in back turn stance. So you need this as a defensive option, but as a defensive option, it's quite powerful. Also, very interestingly, the heavy kick is a command grab, a true command grab. Now, no, he's not T-Zoc or anything like that. Like, you're not winning the game off this, but it gives him a very interesting option because as a command grab, by necessity, this means this is an untechable throw, right? So by itself, it's the same damage as a regular throw, but just simply cannot be teched. And keep in mind, this move is enhanceable, like as a special move would be, and thus the grab from here is also EX Rev Excel cancelable. And like any EX grab will be, well, frankly, subject to horrific combo scaling, but it does mean you get the combo into supers. And all of a sudden, just a quick level 1, you get 300. That is a T-Zoc grab, effectively, right? Just because caught you sleeping, haha, right? So you gotta watch out. And if you're burning, like, say, a level 2 or a hidden gear, you can get like 400 plus, right? So that could be a game ender. So having that level of power, just random grab off the back turn stance, is very powerful. And then we get to the breadwinner, and that is heavy punch. So heavy punch by itself, it is, as you can see here, negative, or rather neutral on block. So if you block this, no bigs. Like, I just returned the back stance. Want to hit a button? I still got that frame 1 counter. Remember that, right? You can cancel the hit with your light punch on the final hit. That makes it -2. The enhanced version, though, you cancel it, is +3 on block. And if the move actually connects by itself, +3, but on regular hit canceled, +6, links in the stat and jab. And, well, then that writes itself. And the enhanced version, oh, it's a launcher. It's a launcher. So, like, that also kind of writes itself. So this is like the main offensive tool. It's the only real, like, strike button you have on, like, where you have a counter and a throw and cancel. So it's your only strike button, but it's a hell of a strike button. It's an incredibly powerful attack. Because also being 3 hits is very easily hit confirmable, right? So, like, you know, On block? Oh, he blocked. Okay, well, I'm not canceling the stance then. And then worry about my counter. And say, we do it here. Oh, cool hit. I'm going to cancel on the hit. And then combo out. And it does combo into heavies, or rather combo from heavies as well. So it's a really strong combo tool, both the regular version and the enhanced version. And then you take all these various things from the stance. Like, it's very interesting. And once again here, you can go into it after your mini Rekka series just by holding the button. We're going to talk about it a bit later, but if you do forward throw, hold the button, you also will go into back turn stance, which is actually kind of preferable in some ways due to how the frame data works out. But yeah, it's just a cool move, and it's a cool addition to the character. Now, to go into his super moves, there's not too much to discuss. These are Freeze Fang and Dragon Fang. And notice how every move is Fang something, right? Because that's his gimmick. He's a bit of an edgelord, right? So Freeze Fang is the cold move, in that he's ice cold and just snaps your freaking neck, right? And it's about what it is. Like, level 1, very good range, because when we're talking about comparison, right? Good damage. It's basically the super you do when someone's not literally beside you, because this has range. The other super, Dragon Fang, has no range whatsoever. You cannot hit someone even close to you. You gotta be directly on top of them or it ain't gonna connect. Here's the thing. This does much more, well, not much more, but it does more damage than the other super. And generally speaking, also provides like a more advantageous knockdown, like numbers wise. And pretty much every time, if you can help it, if you have to pick between one of the two, this is the one to pick. The only thing is, once again, you have to be directly on top of the enemy. And sometimes that's not reasonable. Sometimes that's not gonna happen. Like, say I go for hit confirm for lights, right? And I wasn't directly on top of you. Ah, game over, I got you. Wee, what? Like, no, it's just not gonna work. Like, you have to be literally touching the enemy to make that a real thing. So in a lot of these scenarios, like, this is the one that will connect. So maybe not as much damage, maybe not as much advantage, but you'll actually land it. So that's the big thing, is one super is kind of better all around, except it's got no range. So if you're not in range, you do the other super. And then there's the hidden gear. Not much to say, that's not the standard. Most hidden gears are kind of the same. So very quick startup, very edgelordy animation here. He's like, oh, and then just kind of hitting a pose while you fall down like a piece of garbage, right? Does a lot of damage, completely resets your rev gauge. It's good in all those ways, but it's not too much to talk about other than if you can land it in the combo, it's really good to go for and probably going to be a better option considering the damage differential. So that's it for his supers, and that's it for his special moveset as a whole. Now let's move on to notable normals. Now, let's talk notable normals, and he's got quite a few, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the command moves as well, because they're both great. Forward light punch is his overhead, so by itself as an overhead, it's 19 frames, under 20 frames. Under 20 frames means you're catching everyone sleeping. This is the kind of move that's only easy to react to if you're really, really anticipating it, and even then, 19 frames, you're still gonna get caught. Like, it's very fast, it's very, very good. And the beauty, besides that, it doesn't do much damage, right? But it's +5. You know what's 5 frames? Crouch light punch. So that means every overhead in and of itself is a small combo starter, and that's very invaluable. Especially because you can get a super off it and get a pretty respectable chunk of damage off a quick little overhead. So just that by itself is legitimately grand. Now, thankfully, it's very fast because he actually gets blocked. You're eating a small punish, but it's so fast, legitimately, as long as they're crouching, almost nobody's going to get it in time. The reward isn't huge, but it's better than normal, better than what you would think off a quick overhead. So that's a big feather in his cap. The other amazing command normal is forward light kick. So he just goes like full on, like Enter the Dragon Bruce Lee here, right? And this also is amazing because if you space it with any modicum of skill, it is also going to be +5. Or if you go really crazy, it can be up to +7. And either way, that means either stand jab or crouch jab, right? The thing to note, though, if the opponent is any kind of crouching, it will still hit, absolutely. But that sweet spot comes different. If they're crouching, the beginning of the move won't connect. Like from here, this would hit a standing enemy. but you got to be just a bit closer against a crouching enemy. But still, you can get a sweet spot. You can get great frame data. It's just, it really depends if they're standing, if they're crouching. Also, at the ranges you want to use it at, can be very easy to make it advantage on block. So once again, very strong, very powerful, very useful. And if for whatever reason you catch him hitting anything, you said glass flash, just rest assured your hit's guaranteed regardless of your spacing. So very good. Now, besides that, there are certain normals you're going to want to use no matter what, like stand heavy punch. It's not best in class compared to like some of the really big heavy punches in the game, but it's, you know, good enough range, good enough speed. It is special cancelable in and of itself. Prime candidate just to toss it out and just buffer something behind it, like say an enhanced Quaking Fang here, because then if you get it, oh, cool, and then we just kind of combo out from there, and you don't drop it like I just dropped it, but you get the idea, right? So just very, very solid for what it is. And just keeping up with kind of the workman-like tools. Stand heavy kick, again, not the best in class, but it's very good for him. Same idea here, same frame startup, but same idea, just trying to catch him with buttons, but specifically here, because it does have a wild punish attached to it. So if you catch that whiff, you'll just see that big old animation, and then from there, you can just hit buttons and it'll combo. You might want to get a small dash forward just to make sure you connect, because at like absolute maximum ranges, you won't connect, so just small dash in first. But yeah, so if you catch a button whiffed, free large combo, great. And on that note, just as we talk about pokes, Sandlight Kick is your quickest long range poke. It is not special cancelable, cannot go into any special moves, but it is super cancelable. So at like ranges where you're just kind of just trying to poke out the enemy and just see what happens, like if you see this connect, you can get a level 1 super after the fact and just take a good chunk of their life with them. The Rev Blow, I mentioned at the beginning of the video, pros and cons. It's not like top in class. The one thing I'll give it is it's always monstrously safe, has huge pushback, it's only -2. So if you are looking to be a little bit belligerent, you don't think the enemy will catch on, like do a dodge attack to get around it, then it's very solid in that way. In that if it gets blocked, oh well. Like it literally costs you nothing to get this move blocked. It's not punishable, it's not interactable with it unless you catch it as it's happening. Speaking of dodge attacks, is high dodge, even though it's not actually great. It's the Iron Mountain shoulder. Everyone loves this move, so the Tetsuzango, it's cool. So there you go, he has that. The normals for him won't win you the game most of the time in and of itself. Like it's the threat of his kind of more wacky specials that are like really what make the character strong. Although the command normals, both of them once again are fantastic. But the regular normals, like they're very workmanlike. Like you'll use them because you gotta, but they're not best in class, but they don't need to be because everything else sort of makes up for it. Now, to quickly talk some of the basic building blocks of pressure for the character, because that's kind of one of the main reasons you want to pick them, right? Naturally, stuff like Close Fierce Feint, hey, that's advantage on block, and if it hits, you get a combo. That's fantastic. That's what you would expect, because that's how it works for a large majority of the cast. But there's a lot more to it than that. Like there's stuff we mentioned already, like forward light kick. You space it correctly, hey, that's plus. And plus frames are like how pressure is built, right? But he's got some very easy ways to do it besides that. One of those is through his Wild Fang into various moves. And the easiest switch is just EX Wild Fang into EX Dive Kick, because that is just automatically +3 no matter what. And you can make people respect that because, well, they kind of have to. Like say we're doing this, right? But you got blocked, oh well. You can just basically stay on top of the enemy at that point. Just do the EX, slightly, ever so slightly delay the dive kick, because if you do it right away, it will work right away. But you get even more plus, right? You're +4 here. But with the more distance, it's hard to enforce things. The idea is you want to make them scared to do anything. Or say off like a basic like hit confirm, right? Like here we go, right? Off a basic hit confirm, you can also go into Wild Fang and break cancel it. And that's always plus no matter what. And of course from there, I'm plus, worry about jabs. But there's a fun layer to this that wouldn't have existed with the Gato of the old, because we have the back turn stance. And with back turn stance, we have that command grab. And once again, command grab doesn't do a lot of damage by itself, but it's not techable. And a lot of these scenarios, like I can get you with a jab, I'm plus, so I'll win, sure. But I'm also in the exact range for the command grab. It actually has pretty all-right range, all things considered, especially compared to like the grappler character. Like T-Zoc would whiff from here. Gato does not. So take that as you will, right? So you can just do basic block string pressure, make them respect the fact that you can hit a button after the fact, and then get grabbed. Like, that's actually the thing you can do with this character. Like, naturally you can walk forward and threaten the grab, but like even taking a step forward right there, like the regular throw will still whiff, versus the command grab just has so much more range to it. And thanks to the back turn stance, we can create more scenarios. Like EX back turn strike into cancel is +3, right? So just going back to this, layer 1 strike, and then layer 1 throw. But then we can just rev excel cancel into EX back turn stance off the cancel, because this is, you know, an EX move, right? And then tiny delay. Am I going for that strike? That plus on block strike, which once again, you know, what am I worrying about here? Because that same scenario persists again. And if you try to jump or hit a button or get out of the way, the tiny delay, this will smoke you. And keep in mind, once again here, if you didn't follow some of the earlier sections, this stuff's a launcher, yo, right? So it's plus on block and it launches. So as long as we're willing to up the rev gauge, plus frames, plus frames, plus frames, strike throw, strike throw, strike throw, over and over and over in a lot of scenarios, that's very easy. Once again, this is the most basic hit confirm like scenario possible. And just a real quick ad, in this scenario where you're going to go from EX stomp and EX back turn, and then say you do this here, like it raises your rev gauge, but since it's all one chain cancel and it still counts the grab as, you know, part of the chain, the grab and whatever EX follow-up you do from it, that has like layer 3 discount. So you actually don't raise your overall gauge that much. So the initial cost here without any bonuses, 25, then 40, right? But if we do that, then delay, then grab, then do another rev after that, it's only 10%. So you're actually not spending that much in the end. And of course, in this scenario, even though naturally it'll scale quite a bit here, you can still just get a super at the end here, and maybe that can win the match. So it's cool that way. And this is the kind of stuff we're going to be doing off our basic block strings as well. So no matter how you want to swing it, like, you can just keep the pressure going as long as, you know, very on brand, you keep your pedal to the metal, you keep up in the rev gauge. Like, as long as you want to keep it your turn, he can kind of keep it his turn forever. And it's a very interesting aspect of the character. All right, and now since we talked about just kind of scenarios with the grab in general, let me talk to you about tick grabs, because he has honest to God tick grabs in this game, due to the fact that when you enter back turn and grab, even though the grab is fast and you can do it like in kind of a split of an eye, like not really reactable, due to the throw protection in the game is just slow enough to get around throw protection in a lot of scenarios, and that can make it very interesting. So here we are, the enemy's blocking everything, right? Basic building block 101, crouch light, and the crouch light, one's a low, you know? So did I catch with a hit confirm? No, okay, whatever. And I can do that and grab you right after. You blocked, you absolutely blocked, and I special cancel into it right away. I didn't wait. Other characters with command grabs, you gotta wait. But for Gato specifically, nah, it doesn't matter, because I have the range, and the way the throw protection works, this is literally like the frame you get out of throw protection is the frame he grabs you. And so I can do a basic block string, and you have to be scared off a basic block string that you might immediately get thrown. Now, in this very layer 1 scenario, to be perfectly fair, if the opponent just attacks immediately with like a jab after the fact, like, yeah, they'll win. They'll win. Sure. Okay, like that's perfectly fine. Except that scenario loses in basically every other scenario if I don't go for the grab. Like, say I go for light palm afterwards. Oh, counter hit. Get comboed. Say I don't press anything and then just hit heavy kick. If you hit a button, wild punish. Say I know you're going to do it, I can still enter back turn anyways and just counter your attack. Like, there's a lot of counterplay for this very direct option of I go for basic hit confirm, and on block, I'm going for a grab immediately. But yeah, honestly, like if someone plays a lot of fighting games, this kind of setup is more of like a Mortal Kombat kind of setup, or like an Injustice, an NRS style setup, where I can immediately go for the grab off a throw, and like it's something you legitimately have to worry about. Like no waiting, no nothing. It's part of the block string. And granted, you know, the throw in itself is not a giant reward. It's all right. You get, you know, damage is damage, right? Now to know if your little light block string's too far away, you're just not in grab range. It's not going to work, right? But off basic light block strings, you can just assess. On hit, cool, go for a combo. On block, Okay, here's now this multi-layered threat matrix of I'm going to command grab you at the top, and I have so many ways to punish you hitting buttons. And a lot of those ways also, if you just try to jump, right? Like heavy kick, palm whatever. Like jumping ain't saving you in a lot of those scenarios, right? It's just not going to work out. And once again, due to the nature of the move and because it's just ever so slow, not that it is slow, but it's just ever so slow to get around throw protection. Like close heavy kick, this isn't the tick grab, but I might as well tell you while we're here, right? That's +3 on block. And it's +3 on block in a way like you have to respect the jab after, because anything else you can do that's not invincible is going to lose. That's really cool. And from there, it's really as simple as you're still in command grab range too. So it's not the most damaging grab in the game by any stretch, but it's a real workhorse. I like it a lot. Now, next up, we're going to show you a very easy to achieve safe jump setup, where you can jump at the enemy with effectively very little, not no, but little impunity, because this game is this game, and technically they could wake up just to fan 0 frame super, but, well, that's the game. But by traditional fighting game standards, this is a very solid pressure setup. So the idea here is we're going to jump at the enemy, and if we hit him, great. But we also want to avoid the nasty, invincible wake up uppercut style move, right? And here's how we do it. And it's on the back of a very basic move, just enhanced up kicks. Because in EX, it provides a hard knockdown. So therefore, we always know the knockdown is, they're not moving around, right? And even if they're in the air a little bit in various combo structures, like say something like this, right? Because they're so low to the ground anyways, it keeps the same frame data. So you can rest assured it's going to be the same no matter what. Okay, so we land the move. What do? It's actually very simple. We whiff a jab, stand light punch, and then we hop. And if you circle with hops, you can use the rev shortcut if you want. And we do a hop, and then we do heavy kick, and it's going to look like this. There we go. So we conk Terry with our heavy kick. In this specific scenario, we would also be able to get a heavy punch after the fact. So that's great. And say he wakes up with the reversal as he's set to right now. If he wakes up with the reversal, what then? So exact same scenario. We're whiffing for the timing, jump, and boom, we get the block. It's that simple. So against your standard reversal style options, you get the safe jump. So you get the hit if they're there, or if they block, sure. And if they're somehow invincible and they're not there to be hit, you get the block in time. Very valuable setup, very easy. And once again, off just a regular EX, no fancy setups, no nothing. Like, it just kind of settles itself, so it's good that way. Now, let's get into the basics of knockdown pressure. The thing with Gato is a lot of your basic combos, this is exactly how it's going to end. And normally, perfectly fine, but as a basic regular special move, the opponent does have multiple options to roll around, which can, well, frankly, mess things up. So say we do basic hit confirm. All right, there we go, we're gonna dash. Oh, whoa, what happened there, right? They rolled on the other side, and I just kind of lost my opportunity. So thankfully, there's a few things on the most basic knockdown for Quaking Fang you can do to help alleviate some of the friction. So what we want to do is specifically dash, but dash using the rev button and just holding forward. So we get the knockdown, and we're just going to hold forward and rev dash twice. If they stayed in place, whatever. We're on top of them as they get up. That's definitely not the worst scenario. But say in that scenario, once again here, where they roll past us and we just mash dash normally, we kind of screwed up, right? But if we dash by holding forward and rev, and a worst case scenario here, oh, what's happening there? So it automatically, after the first dash, because I'm just holding forward and rev, right? Back and rev, at that point now it just becomes rev guard, and basically stops me in my place. In this specific scenario, like if I do that and I see it and I let go right away, I'll still have very slight advantage. So I can still hit a button before they can hit a button. But yeah, that's kind of the unfortunate part of a regular special move is, and by design, that there's 4 kinds of rolls, and the rolls change the frame data as well, right? So a forward roll, in this same scenario here, we double dash like we're like punishable, straight up. Like the only safe thing really to do is just do a dash and then just react to what happened. So forward roll far, forward roll short. Like you can still be on top of them, and if they back roll out, well, then they back roll out. Like You just gotta take it as it is. It's not your strongest knockdown, but thankfully we got stronger knockdown, so let's talk about that. Like, let's take the humble basic throw. We've already talked about it. And of course we talked the command throw and all the shenanigans. We're gonna talk more too, but that slower startup, right? The basic throw will always have a place, especially because he's not primarily a command grab character. And the forward throw, one interesting trick is if you hold the button, you actually immediately go in the back turn stance, which changes the frame data. So normally, right here, plus 26, and say we dash after the fact, right? So we're plus 6, which is great, but we're not directly on top of the enemy. Like, they still gotta respect our buttons, which is good enough. But if we do this, back turn stance, and immediately cancel out of the back turn stance, we're more plus, and now we're directly on top of the opponent. You can have close heavy punch hit meaty, like not on the first active frame. So by itself, normally be plus 7, right? Right there, when it hit meaty, it was plus 10. So it's an interesting little trick to stay directly on top of the enemy. Now, the thing is there, if you feint cancel, it still will always be plus 3, but if you let it rock, then it's plus 5 on block, right? So it's actually better. Because it still cancels on the blocks done on the feint, and so it doesn't change the actual frame data versus letting the meaty rock. But yeah, so regular throw equals guaranteed directly on top of you, plus frames, pressure. So that and the command grab are both really good. And once again, just to throw it out there, because command grab works in mysterious ways, that's also very much an option as well. So it's cool because it gets around the throw protection when you get up. So yeah, the basic throw is very strong for Gato. Okay, so real quick, because we've been hyping up command grab a lot. And, you know, what do we get if we get it? Because it's not a lot of damage in and of itself unless we're doing the enhanced version and doing fancy combos after the fact, right? So here's the thing. By itself, just double dash right after. You can use the rev button to immediately get out of the back turn state. You do that twice, you're plus 15 in their face. So you do it twice, the tiniest delay, and you just force them to wake up into a fierce or whatever. Like, it doesn't particularly matter what you do. Just you dash twice, they have to wake up, you're directly on top of them. It's not frame perfect like some of the other things we talked about before, but it works. And when they're worried about that, then you can just do it again and repeat, dig them to the corner. It's really simple, but I just figure I should mention it. And actually, there's another fun thing, because once again, this is a hard knockdown, and since it has a very fixed wake-up timing, we can abuse that into going into our stance, dash canceling out of the stance, and using the Wild Fang projectile to create a very strong meaty setup. So normally, no, it's a very good move, right? But it's negative on hit. However, dash cancel going right into it. Notice how it's plus 8 there. So it hits very later in the active frames, and then when we land, we're landing because we're already partway through the move, right? So it changes up the frame data. So now we're plus 8. And the fun little gimmick here is if this happens to connect, plus 8's exactly enough time for us to land like a level 1 or 2 punch super. So it's a good chunk of damage, and naturally, if they happen to block it, it's very advantaged on block as well, right? So it's another layer of Oki for the command grab. Now here's the fun one. So this works off the level 1 Dragon Kick super anywhere on the screen, as long as they're on the ground or very low to the ground. So if you happen to be doing juggle combos, make sure they're very low to the ground when you're doing this specifically. So what do? It's actually dirt easy. Just go for Wild Fang, that's our command jump. And you can use the button hold trick as we talked about in the top 10 tips section from another video to just make it easier for the auto timing. And then from there, just go for the heavy kick follow-up, the slide. And then the magic works itself out. What's going to happen is this. It's going to hit very deep into the move, more deep than normal, and it's going to leave us at plus 5 on hit. At which point, it's not too complex of an ask. You do it, it lands, great. Easy little combo after the fact. And if they block, guess what? It's still plus 3 in their face. So they have to respect you after the fact. Because he has a 6 frame close heavy. If they block, like that's literally the next thing. And if they respect that, then, well, again, thrown, right? So it's just auto time very easy. Now, of course, the main weakness is by doing this very telegraph flip into the low, I'm just going to reverse. And honestly, fair enough, that will easily beat it. But you don't have to do the follow-up either. I can simply just not press a button, right? Like I can do the initial flip, not press a button, and then just bait out your reversal and get a punish. So that option's still very much there. So it's very easy. Once again, this is just off the back of the level 1 super, as long as you can get it low to the ground. If they're a bit higher up, like you'll still hit the super, but it'll change the frame data and it won't make it guaranteed anymore. And also keep in mind, this is specifically the level 1. The level 2 version, while more damaging, has different frame data on knockdown, so the same setup doesn't work. But yeah, level 1, if you're looking to catch out to get some good damage and a good knockdown with easy autopilot pressure after the fact, that's a good one. Now, let's talk combos 101. So Gato is very blessed in that he has some elaborate combo routing that it can go for a while, right? But due to the nature of the combo structure, sometimes the longest combo is not always the best combo. And a lot of his combos can be very wasteful on the rev bar. What seems like the best option out of the gate may not always be the best option out of the gate. So I'm going to give you a couple routings and a couple ideas for combos that are more conservative on the rev bar. And if you do want to go out all out smartly and maximize your damage, because just doing a bunch of rev excel combos back to back to back doesn't necessarily mean you're getting the most overall damage due to the nature of how combo scaling works. Now for the basics, as far as like hit confirms go, it's kind of just whatever in the Quaking palm. He's blessed in that he can pretty easily get a 3-hit hit confirm off a hit as long as he's like directly beside the enemy, because his stand jab's got a good amount of range to it. It's not exactly Jenny range, but well, you can't always win, right? But yeah, so hit confirm is just get your basic hits, Quaking bomb, going to whatever, right? And if you so choose, you can also get a super after the fact. It's pretty easy, just to snag in a little bit more damage. Of course, the name of the game is what if we get the bigger hits? That's what we're kind of going for, right? Close heavy kick is +3 on block, also +5 on hit. So that means they'll go into jab, go into Quaking palm. And of course, close heavy break, that's +8, which will go into crouch heavy, which is 8 frames. And then from there, he's blessed with high meterless damage. So before we even go crazy on like spinning the bar, he can do something like this. And that's very respectable meterless damage. And of course, now, since we got, heavy and heavy, we can do the big stuff. But what big stuff we want to do? What you definitely don't want to do is start with EX Quaking Palm. It does not do much damage for an enhanced move, and it horrifically ups the scaling, making everything else do a lot less damage. Okay, so now what are we aiming for combo-wise off the heavies? So you've probably seen combos like this, and those aren't bad, but you can do better, basically. You can do better, and not too difficult. Instead of just doing Wild Fang and then doing this right away into this, all you gotta do is same move, just delay it a little bit. Wait until the jump just a little bit, till they basically like reach the peak of the jump. And then things are gonna get a lot better. So let me show you an example combo with that. So there you go, very respectable damage. We got a super, and we talked about Oki earlier. If I delayed that just a little bit more, I get the Oki we talked about earlier. But yeah, it's very good, and we're front-loading the damage is the thing. Because if we do stuff like Quaking Palm, it just spends more bar for like basically 0 return. Because it's just further on scaling without no real results. If we start with this, there's some pretty big results. We could also start with this as well. So we can go like this, and do kind of much the same combo, as you can see here, right? It's just, do you want to use it earlier, or do you want to save it later for the easier juggle? Because once you use it, you only get to use it the one time, right? So the nature of this combo routing is meter-wise, it kind of pays for itself. Because, like, look at that. We're already basically almost fully refunded what we spent. And if you're looking for pressure after the fact, we talk about enhanced kicks afterwards. At which point, sure, like, we can definitely do that. Boom, and then we'll get our hard knockdown because it's an EX and just go from there. And that will spend a bit more bar, but now we're just guaranteeing our pressure. So This is a very simple routing with fantastic options either way. Now, so that said, that's our more conservative option, right? So say we wanted to start swinging for the fences. Well, he's really good at that too. Once again, though, when it comes to doing Quaking Fang, don't do that. There's some very edge case routes where we could save that for the end, but don't start with it unless you're just like very far out. Like say you know you got a hit, but like you're not close to the enemy. Like basically situations where EX back turn would just barely whiff. But basically that's where we're going. EX back turn. If we're looking to spend a bit more bar, this is now where we're going to start, because we can just kind of do this and then that's all a natural combo. And keep in mind, once again, it's a launcher in and of itself. And it can create some interesting combo routing with our Wild Fang kick option, because the initial stomp will whiff. And since it whiffed, that means as far as the combo is concerned, we didn't use it yet. This initial part didn't happen, which means we get to save it for later in the combo. So now let me give you an example routing on how that would work. And there we go. So notice here we got that second Wild Fang in there, right? Because the first one whiffed. So normally I said in the first routing you don't want to go for that, but specifically because the first hit does not connect and we already used up back turn attack, so we can't use it a second time, right? We can then basically sneak in a second one to stomp in, go for the slide follow-up, and then from the slide follow-up we can do enhance uppercut, break it, and then juggle into whatever. Or we don't have to, because once again, the knockdown, as we covered in the safe jump section from that, is incredibly valuable. So we can just do it and get a really strong knockdown and get a safe jump after the fact. But either way you want to do it, very easy to tag a super at the end or just let it rock as it is. So if you're looking for a bit more damage and a bit more meters spent, that's a routing to go for. Also, as a note for corner combos, when you land this kind of stuff here, instead of going for this for the follow-up, you can go into Wild Fang into the dive kick. And it's the same combo routing, but it just, this move here does 60 damage, and this move does not 60 damage. So it's just slightly more damage. Like, you're still going for the exact same combo routing, just in the corner, keep in mind, just use dive kick instead. You'll get like a couple more points of damage. So now say we're looking to like ideally maximize our damage, right? So one thing to note here, on counter hit, close heavy punch and into the Fang cancels plus 13 now instead of the usual. This means if you're very quick, you can do it, dash forward, and then get another close heavy punch, and then go for the combo there. So you just get another heavy on top of there. So that's one way to maximize the damage. And then there's the very interesting scenario of the stomp, EX stomp into Demon Slide in the corner, and then we bust out the enhanced Quaking Fang. Because if we delay it very much, like very much, you can do something like this. And it is very difficult. It's very difficult because you have to delay after the first hit. You have to delay that. Then you also have to like max delay the follow-up as well. If you don't delay it, it'll just outright whiff. Not good. And when you delay that, then you got to delay the follow-up as much as you possibly can. Like, this isn't easy. And then, only then, will you be able to do EX, uppercut, break, cancel that. Because if you didn't delay the second hit as much as possible, then the break window is whiffed and then goes through the whole move. But let me give you what I think is like theoretical max damage. And here you go. So I could have added one light punch palm right at the end there to do like 2 more damage, I guess, about. But basically, screw it, it's too hard. Like, that's not realistic. That is way too many links in a row for 2 points of damage, and why drop the combo? Also, when it comes to counter hits, I just remember now, this is editing rooflemonger. If you have a guaranteed counter hit, back turn stance heavy punch actually does more damage, so that combo would have done 700 something instead, because this is just a better hit than the close heavy by itself. But oh well, it's still the same combo. You get the idea. Now, once again, all that stuff at the end, it's too difficult. It's not worth like the 10 more points of damage. If you got it, just do the same combo, but it's way easier up until the point where we're like timing manual delay of, you know, palm and the manual delay of the follow-up. And don't worry about that. I'm just showing you what high damage looks like. But that's Gato. So Gato is a very interesting rushdown pressure style character. We've already talked in the video, but he's got a lot of just very easy plus frames, a lot of easy options. Like, hey, stomp is plus, stomp dive kick is plus. Stomp this and you do nothing, then you get thrown. But then stomp and you try to hit buttons, I'm gonna win, right? So like, he's got a lot of interesting options just on the base level. And maybe I undersold it. When you do Wild Fang and you punch the projectile, if you will, it's not quite a projectile, it's actually really good. Like, it's very abusable. And at certain ranges, it's very difficult to deal with. It has a very wide and very active hitbox, as we showed earlier in like an Oki section. It's active for a lot of frames. So even if they're not there on that initial frame when it connects, like they can walk into it or fall into it or whatever. It's only on the ground, so if they're airborne, it doesn't really work. But this is just a really good abusable move, and takes any block string and it'll just make it completely safe with pushback, effectively resetting you into neutral, right? So if you don't like where we're going, you don't want to try some of the various other gimmicks we've shown here, like this is like, no, okay, peace out, take some chip damage, probably, and I'm out, let's figure this out again. So it's a very good move. A projectile with no travel time, basically. And, you know, when it comes to spacing, you know, forward light kick, we talked about the spacing on that. If you can space it, great. Those are plus frames. Spacing is a very big part of the character. And he's basically rushdown 101 with a lot of fun gimmicks. And once again, too, that really good overhead as well. But yeah, he's a rushdown character. He's going to get in your face. He's not necessarily here to zone you out unless you're in potentially chip range. And this stops becoming harassment and becomes like a valid game plan in and of itself. But yeah, he's got a lot of tools to get in, stay in, and just go from there. Like, once again, like, it can always be his turn as long as you're willing to spend some meter. That's one of the more fantastic aspects of the character. And hopefully this video has showed you a good idea of how he plays, and hopefully can get you interested in playing him. That said, though, my friends, that is the end of the Gato guide. And hopefully by now you have learned that Gato means cat. There we go. We started with that, we're ending with that. Gato means cat. So that's it for the video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Fatal Fury.
Yeah.